You don't need more motivation. You need the honesty to keep what you promised yourself when nobody is watching. That's a hard truth. But maybe it's exactly the truth you need to hear today. Because you already know what you need to do. You know you need to wake up earlier. You know you need to stop wasting time. You know you need to take care of your body. You know you need to study. You know you need to work with more focus. You know you need to stop going back to the same vices. You know you need to distance yourself from certain people. You know you need to control your tongue, your anger, your desire, your anxiety, and your laziness. You know. The problem is not a lack of information. The problem is that you still negotiate too much with your own weakness. You say you want to change, but you keep obeying your tiredness. You say you want to win, but you keep waiting to feel like it. You say you want respect, but you break small promises every single day. You say you want a new life, but you protect the same habits that are destroying your old one. And here's the first blow. Discipline is not about doing what you want. Discipline is about doing what needs to be done, even when everything inside you wants to run. That's why so many people talk about discipline, but so few actually live it. Because discipline is not pretty in the beginning. Discipline hurts. Discipline exposes. Discipline humiliates the ego. Discipline shows you how much you were dominated by your own impulses. Discipline reveals that many times your greatest enemy was not the world. It was you. And Stoicism begins exactly there, in the moment you stop blaming the world and start governing yourself. Because whoever cannot govern their own will be governed by anything, by the phone, by laziness, by other people's opinions, by neediness, by anger, by fear, by anxiety, by immediate pleasure, by the past. And a person governed by all of that may still be alive, but is not free. Today, you're going to hear 5 brutal truths about discipline that almost nobody has the courage to tell you. Not comfortable truths, truths that wound pride, but free the soul. The first brutal truth is this. You are not as busy as you say. You are not as weak as you say. You are not as lost as you say. Most of the time, you are simply lying to yourself to avoid the discomfort of change. That stings, but it's necessary, because the human mind is an expert at creating beautiful excuses. I'll start on Monday. Now is not the right time. I'm too tired. My schedule is complicated. When things get better, I'll do it. When I have more money, I'll start. When I have more support, I'll change. When I feel motivated, I'll go. But life doesn't care about your excuses. Time passes either way. It passes for those who act. It passes for those who complain. It passes for those who wake up early. It passes for those who destroy themselves on their phone until midnight. It passes for those who build. It passes for those who postpone. And one day, you look back and realize it wasn't a lack of opportunity. It was a lack of decision. The Stoics understood that life is too short to be wasted on self-deception. Seneca said, "We are not given a short life, but we make life short by squandering it." And that is exactly what happens when you spend your life postponing who you could become. You say you're waiting for the right moment, but maybe the right moment is just a comfortable fantasy to avoid the weight of the first step. Because the first step always feels uncomfortable. Starting to train feels uncomfortable. Starting to study feels uncomfortable. Starting to work with focus feels uncomfortable. Starting to say no feels uncomfortable. Starting to go to bed early feels uncomfortable. Starting to abandon vices feels uncomfortable. Starting to hold your tongue feels uncomfortable. But you know what feels worse? Still being the same person 1 year from now, with the same promises, the same excuses, the same pain, the same cycles, the same falls, the same feeling that you could have done more. Discipline begins when you stop romanticizing your weakness, when you stop calling procrastination a rough patch, When you stop calling addiction an escape. E. When you stop calling laziness exhaustion. When you stop calling fear caution. When you stop calling lack of commitment freedom. Because freedom without self-control becomes slavery. You think you're free because you do whatever you want. But if you can only do what your impulses command, that is not freedom. That is a prison. Freedom is being able to say no to yourself, no to excess, no to distraction, no to the impulsive response, no to the food that destroys you, no to the conversation that steals your peace, no to the pleasure that costs too much, no to the weaker version of yourself that keeps asking to come back. The first act of discipline is honesty. Looking at yourself and saying, I know what I am doing to myself, without drama, without victimhood, without excuses, without trying to blame everyone else, just truth. Because while you lie to yourself, no change is possible. But when you finally see your own escape clearly, something awakens. You realize you don't need to wait for a new life to fall from the sky. You need to stop sabotaging the life that is already in your hands. The second brutal truth is this: if you depend on motivation, you've already lost. Motivation is unstable. It shows up when you watch a powerful video. It shows up when someone praises you. It shows up when you imagine yourself winning. It shows up when everything seems possible. But then, it disappears. It disappears when the alarm goes off early. It disappears when your body is tired. It disappears when nobody is watching. It disappears when results take too long. It disappears when an easier distraction appears. And if your life depends on feeling like it, you will be a slave to your daily mood. Today you want to. Tomorrow you don't. Today you're excited. Tomorrow you're empty. Today you make promises. Tomorrow you forget them. That doesn't build character. That builds instability. The Stoic doesn't ask, do I feel like it? The Stoic asks, what is my duty right now? That question changes everything. Because desire is noise, duty is direction. You might not feel like training, but your body needs care. You might not feel like studying, but your future demands preparation. You might not feel like working, but your responsibilities don't disappear because your mood dropped. You might not feel like forgiving, but your peace doesn't deserve to live trapped in resentment. You might not feel like staying silent, but your dignity is worth more than winning a pointless argument. Discipline is when duty governs desire. It doesn't mean you don't feel laziness. It doesn't mean you don't feel fear. It doesn't mean you don't feel tiredness. It doesn't mean you wake up inspired every morning. It means you've learned to act anyway. The disciplined person also feels like giving up. The difference is, they don't treat every feeling like a command. They observe the impulse and choose. That is the heart of Stoicism. Between the stimulus and the response, there is a space. In that space lives your power. Someone provokes you. You feel like responding. But there is a space. Your body wants comfort. You feel like postponing. But there is a space. Your mind wants distraction. You feel like escaping. But there is a space. Discipline lives in that space. That's where you decide whether you will be governed by impulse or by character. Most people lose their lives because they never enter that space. They feel anger and explode. They feel desire and obey. They feel laziness and postpone. They feel fear and retreat. They feel neediness and humiliate themselves. They feel like it and just do it. And then they call that personality. But most of the time it's not personality. It is a lack of internal governance. Discipline is reclaiming the throne of your own mind. It is saying, I can feel this, but I don't have to obey it. That sentence is a weapon. You can feel laziness and still get up. You can feel fear and still try. You can feel anger and still stay silent. You can feel sadness and still do the basics. You can feel like going back and still move forward. That is strength. Not the loud strength of someone who wants to appear invincible, but the quiet strength of someone who fulfills their duty even when broken. The third brutal truth is this: you will suffer either way. The only choice is which pain you will carry. There is the pain of discipline, and there is the pain of regret. The pain of discipline is waking up early when you wanted to sleep in. It's training when your body wants the couch. It's studying when your mind wants distraction. It's saving money when you wanted to spend it. It's saying no when you wanted to please. It's facing the truth when you wanted to run from it. That pain is uncomfortable, but it builds. Then there is another pain, the pain of staying weak, the pain of depending on others, the pain of looking in the mirror and not respecting what you see, the pain of repeating the same cycles over and over, the pain of missing opportunities because you didn't prepare, the pain of feeling life passing by while you stay still. That pain destroys. And here is the problem. The pain of discipline is immediate, so it scares you. The pain of lacking discipline is slow, so it deceives you. You don't notice it on the first day. One day without training doesn't seem like much. One bad night of sleep doesn't seem like much. One broken promise doesn't seem like much. 1 hour lost on your phone doesn't seem like much. One pointless argument doesn't seem like much. One relapse into an old habit doesn't seem like much. But ruin almost never arrives all at once. It arrives through small permissions. One exception today, another one tomorrow. One excuse now, another one later. One, just this once. Another, I'll make up for it later. And when you realize it, it wasn't one great tragedy that destroyed you. It was the sum of small betrayals against yourself. Discipline works the same way. It doesn't change everything in a day, but every small victory leaves a mark. You wake up on time. 1 mark. You finish the workout. 1 mark. You complete what you started. 1 mark. You choose silence over drama. 1 mark. You keep your word. 1 mark. And these marks begin to create a new identity. At first, nobody sees it. But you see it, and that matters, because self-respect is born when you realize you can trust yourself again. Most people suffer because they no longer trust themselves. They promise and don't follow through. They start and abandon. They decide and reverse. They say it's over and go back. They say they'll change and repeat everything. So, over time, their own word loses value. And when your word means nothing to you, your self-esteem crumbles. Discipline rebuilds that. Not with speeches, with proof. Every day you give yourself proof of who you're becoming, or proof that you're still being governed by weakness. It's brutal, but it's simple. Every choice votes for an identity. When you always choose the easy path, you vote for your weaker version. When you choose the necessary path, even when it's hard, you vote for your stronger version. And one day, after many silent votes, you become what you've been repeating. So don't just ask, does this feel good right now? Ask, who am I becoming if I repeat this choice every single day? That question reveals the future. Because your future is not built by what you desire. It is built by what you repeat. The fourth brutal truth is this. To become someone new, you have to stop protecting who you were. This is one of the hardest parts. Because many people want a new life without abandoning old patterns. They want peace, but keep feeding conflict. They want focus, but stay addicted to distraction. They want self-esteem, but keep humiliating themselves for crumbs. They want health, but keep treating their body like trash. They want prosperity, but keep spending as if the future doesn't exist. They want growth, but stay surrounded by people who love their stagnation. It doesn't work. Every real change requires loss. You will lose habits. You will lose excuses. You will lose certain pleasures. You will lose some friendships. You will lose the old image some people had of you. You will lose the comfort of hiding behind, "That's just how I am." And perhaps the most important death of all is this: the death of the phrase, "I've always been this way." That phrase sounds like identity, but most of the time, it's just a cell. I'm just an angry person. I'm just lazy. I'm just impulsive. I'm just jealous. I'm just disorganized. That's just how I am. No. You've perhaps repeated that pattern for a long time. But repetition is not destiny. Stoicism teaches that character is trained. You are not born finished. You build yourself. And if you've built yourself in a way that weakens you, you can also rebuild yourself in a way that strengthens you. But that requires killing internal versions of yourself. The version that needed to respond to everything. The version that begged for attention. The version that started and quit. The version that played the victim. The version that ran from discomfort. The version that preferred immediate pleasure over long-term peace. These versions will fight to survive. Don't think your old life will leave quietly. It will knock on the door. It will come back as nostalgia, as desire, as laziness, as anxiety, as an invitation, as a message, as a thought saying, "Just today." And that is exactly the moment when discipline needs to show up. Not when everything is easy, but when the old version tries to negotiate. You need to learn to say, "I don't live there anymore." That sentence is powerful. When the past calls, say, "I don't live there anymore." When the addiction calls, say, "I don't live there anymore." When anger calls, say, "I don't live there anymore." When neediness calls, say, "I don't live there anymore." When laziness calls, say, "I don't live there anymore." Because discipline is loyalty to the new version before it is fully formed. You don't feel strong yet, but you act like someone who is becoming strong. You don't feel disciplined yet, but you act like someone who is training discipline. You don't feel free yet, but you begin to refuse the chains. That is how identity changes. First, you act differently. Then you begin to see yourself differently. And finally, you become different. The fifth brutal truth is this: if you need applause to keep going, your discipline is still weak. Because in the beginning, almost nobody will notice. Nobody will applaud you for waking up early. Nobody will celebrate when you say no to a relapse. Nobody will throw a party because you studied instead of getting distracted. Nobody will recognize every small internal battle you won. Nobody will understand how much it cost you to stay silent when you wanted to explode. And that is a good thing. Because if you only do what's right when someone is watching, you are still a slave to the audience. The purest discipline is born in anonymity. When there's no witness, when there's no like, when there's no praise, when there's no validation, when nobody knows how hard you're trying. That is where character is formed. Not on stage, in the bedroom, in the middle of the night, in the routine, in the exhaustion, in the repetition, in the choice nobody sees. Many people want to appear disciplined. Few want to live the solitude of discipline. Because discipline separates. It separates you from your old habits. It separates you from pointless conversations. It separates you from environments that drain your energy. It separates you from the need to explain everything. It separates you from people who were only connected to your weaker version. And when that happens, you may feel alone. But not all solitude is abandonment. Sometimes it is purification. Sometimes it is the necessary space for you to hear your own conscience. Sometimes it is the silence where God, life, or your own soul begins to show you who you need to become. The Stoic does not fear being alone with their own mind. What they fear is living an entire life, betraying their own conscience, just to belong in the wrong places. Think about that. How many times did you abandon your discipline to fit into a group? How many times did you break a promise to please someone? How many times did you go back to bad habits because you didn't want to seem different? How many times did you trade your peace just to avoid being called cold, strange, or distant? But if the price of belonging is abandoning yourself, that place costs too much. Discipline requires the courage to be misunderstood, courage to say no, courage to walk away, courage to seem boring, courage to be judged, courage to keep going without applause. Because in the end, you are not building to impress others. You are building so you never abandon yourself again. And when that shift happens, everything changes. You stop asking, will they like this? And you start asking, does this respect who I am trying to become? That question brings order to life. If this conversation doesn't respect your peace, leave. If this habit doesn't respect your future, cut it. If this person doesn't respect your boundaries, step back. If this choice doesn't respect your new identity, refuse it. Not with hatred, with firmness. True discipline does not need to be aggressive. It needs to be non-negotiable. Now pay attention, because this is important. Discipline does not mean never failing. You will fail. You'll have bad days. You'll feel weak. You'll lose focus. You'll fall back into old patterns. You'll speak when you should have been silent. You'll postpone something you should have done. You'll disappoint yourself. But the difference between an ordinary person and a disciplined person is not that the disciplined one never falls. The difference is they get back up faster. They don't turn a fall into an identity. They don't say, I failed, so I am a failure. They say, I failed, so I need to adjust my course. That is maturity. Guilt can show you that something needs to change. But if you live in guilt, it becomes just another excuse. Many people fail once and use that to quit forever. They ate wrong one time and abandoned the diet. They missed a workout and abandoned their body. They had one bad day of studying and abandoned the project. They responded with anger once and say there's no hope. They relapsed into a vice once and decide they'll never change. That's not a lack of capability. That's a lack of returning. Discipline is the art of coming back to your center, coming back to the plan, coming back to the silence, coming back to the duty, coming back to yourself, without drama, without pointless self-punishment, without a grand speech. Just come back. The Stoic doesn't waste time crying over a fall when there is still ground to rise from. They rise, they learn, they correct, and they continue. That is the mindset. Don't chase perfect discipline. Chase a discipline that survives bad days, because anyone can make promises when inspired. But who are you when you're tired? Who are you when nobody is watching? Who are you when you fail? Who are you when life presses down? That's where your philosophy shows itself, not in the beautiful quote you share, but in the choice you make when discomfort arrives. Many people aren't disciplined because they try to fix their entire life at once. They want to change everything in a week. New body, new mind, new routine, new financial life, new relationships, new identity. And when they see the size of the mountain, they freeze. So here is a practical rule. Reduce your life to the next right action. Don't think about the entire year. Think about the next action. What is the next right action right now? Get out of bed. Drink water. Organize your space. Turn off your phone. Open the book. Start the workout. Ask for forgiveness. Stay silent. Don't respond. Finish the task. Go to sleep on time. Discipline grows when you stop negotiating with the whole and start winning the now. The now is the battlefield. Not tomorrow, not Monday, not when everything gets better. Now. You don't control the entire year, but you control this decision. You don't control all outcomes, but you control the next step. You don't control what people will think, but you control your posture. You don't control the past, but you control whether you will keep obeying it. Life changes when you win the next right action many times in a row. And when you fail, return to the next right action. Simple. Hard, but simple. If you remember only one thing from this video, remember this. Discipline is self-respect in the form of action. It is you saying to yourself, "My life matters too much to be driven by impulse. My future matters too much to be sold for immediate pleasure. My peace matters too much to be handed to any provocation. My character matters too much to be traded for approval. My word matters too much to be broken every day." Discipline is not punishment. It is protection. It protects your body. It protects your mind. It protects your time. It protects your energy. It protects your dignity. It protects your future. But it demands a price. The price of saying no. The price of being misunderstood. The price of acting without desire. The price of continuing without applause. The price of killing old versions of yourself. The price of choosing the pain that builds over the pain that destroys. And maybe today, you need to make a simple decision. Not an emotional decision. Not a beautiful promise. Not a speech to impress anyone. A silent decision. The decision to stop abandoning yourself. Because in the end, nobody can be disciplined for you. Nobody can get up for you. Nobody can choose for you. Nobody can master your impulses for you. Nobody can build your character for you. This war is yours, but so is the victory. So, when laziness comes, fulfill the duty. When desire disappears, fulfill the duty. When nobody is watching, fulfill the duty. When you fail, return to the duty. When you want to quit, remember, you are not trying to appear strong. You are becoming someone who no longer abandons themselves, and that is worth more than any applause. But now you understand that silence without discipline builds nothing. Being quiet is not enough. You must act with consistency, with honor, with patience, with self-mastery. Because the life you want will not be created by the words you say. It will be created by the choices you repeat. Don't wait to feel like it. Don't wait for applause. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Take the next right action and keep going.